What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. It is episode 8 of No Fate But What We Stream. We are live. It's been a while since we've been on this thing, and I'm excited to be back. So I'm Eddie Green. I'm your host. I'm also being joined by my incredible co-host,
Gershom, Reese, Wetzel. Infiltrator. What's up?
And look at that background, like he's in it. So this is what happens when you don't talk for a while. This is what happens when you kind of just fall off the map. Essentially, he's in an entirely new house, correct?
Yes, well, apartment, but moved into the new place going on about a month ago, and this is the setup. This is the room.
Nice, man. Nice. I like it. It looks like you have a lot of possibilities in terms of what you can do with like adding to the back.
Definitely. I don't know if you can see it, probably at the edge of my screen there. I'm going to turn this just a sec. But I've got a face hugger that I'm working on.
Oh.
On the closet wall. Been talking with Wilhelm Dimebeck, Will the Alien, out there in East Texas Hive. Possibility of doing something in the Aliens universe for a film project, short, very short. But and I said, you know what? I think what we need is a face hugger that's like, flexible and lightweight, and we can throw it and, I don't know, stick an M80 in it and blow it up, or I don't know what we're gonna do. But it turns out that thing has cost maybe a grand total of about $60 to do so far, and I've got a lot of material left over, so I could probably get a second one for about another $10.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that. So it may turn into something we shall see.
Nice. So yeah, okay. So hold on. First, before we get going here, we just need to address the elephant in the room, which is, if you guys are noticing, it's literally just me and Gershom. And I wanted to announce and kind of let you guys know and keep everybody up to date here. So the original plan for episode 8 was to have Randall Frakes on, and yeah, and it looked like it was going that way. I've been in contact with him. We initially made contact on Facebook, and then he actually gave me his cell phone number. He was like, I much prefer just texting and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, sweet. So it went from social media messaging to text messaging. If you guys are following me on social media or anything like that, you know that this was actually originally not even going to be a No Fate But What We Stream episode. This was going to be just a kind of Q&A thing that I was going to do with Randall. I actually invited Gershom on there, but the day I asked him, he wasn't able to make it happen. It was unfortunate. I was like, dang it, that sucks. But, Randall has a very busy schedule, so I kind of have to jump on this. And Gershom understood. So we were going to do it then, and we had some technical difficulties in terms of stuff happening on my end with like my computer and everything. So I had to reschedule that. And we eventually landed on today, July 29th. And everything looked like it was going good. Just a couple days ago, Randall messaged me. He was like, just make sure you call me a couple hours before. That way we can make sure everything is going well. And I said, okay, perfect, great. Started messaging him today and wasn't hearing anything from him. Then I actually called him, and it went right to his voice message. And I've called him maybe 6 or 7 times since and kept going to voice message. So his phone is clearly off. This stuff happens. I mean, I'm not like a convention, or I'm not like, this big, this is just a Terminator 101, No Fate But What We Stream show. So there was no like contractual obligation. So he, who knows what might be the reason why he was not able to join us today. It sucks, but we are going to keep it open to the idea of, if we can get Randall on for the next episode, it's going to be episode 8.5. We're just going to kind of keep that in line going there. But it sucks, but the show must go on. The show must go on. I messaged Gershom about an hour ago, and I was like, I don't know if Randall's coming on. He's not talking at all. So we need a backup plan here, because we're not going to just say, because I can't keep canceling and doing all the stuff. People get, obviously irritated with that. And I'm sure people, we have Cybergana, we have Heroes Throw in the chat room, and some other people will be tuning in as well. So this stuff happens, and we just got to roll with the punches. So this is going to be a free form episode. There is no one set topic. It's really just going to be anything and everything that we want to talk about in terms of Terminator, in terms of James Cameron. So it's going to be a fun episode. We're determined to make this as interesting, if not more, as it would have been with Randall on.
Best we can do. And on that note, Randall, if you catch this stream, we hope everything's well with you. I know when somebody turns off a phone, that usually means, hey, some really crazy janky shit's going down. So we hope the best for you, and we're looking forward to whenever we can catch up with you. So hang in there, man. Keep on terminating.
Yeah, exactly. Or
I totally stole your line.
No. You're totally cool. Totally cool. If anyone can steal the line, it's you. So, honestly, it could be work related. It could be a bunch of reasons. Honestly, he might have just forgot. Honestly, that stuff happens. So again, this isn't something that's like a giant production going on here, so it might not have been, honestly. I mean, we have to stay humble. This might not have been at the top of his priority list, and he said okay to it, and then it just kind of slipped his mind because he was telling me he's working on a book and all this stuff. So
and we know what happens when he works on books, so we're all about that.
Yeah, we were excited. I mean, look, we got Gershom holding his too. We'll cut back to him, but I think you have to talk for the camera to cut.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right back. Yeah.
Right there. So he has he has the 2 copies, and I also have my copy of the Terminator right there.
Excellent.
I am missing the T2 copy as of right now. It's coming though. I wanted to talk with Randall about this book. Ooh. This book is insane. This book is beautiful. It's so we might talk about this just for a little bit today, but this is a great book if you guys haven't got it. James Cameron's Story of Science Fiction. It's obviously the companion book to the AMC series that was going on. And then the Titanic illustrated, get the glare, there we go. Titanic illustrated screenplay with annotations by Randall Frakes. So these were really the main things that we were going to talk about with Randall. And obviously we wanted to talk to him about his friendship with James Cameron, because he's putting those down. He's a big time collaborator and friend with him. So, but yeah. So anyways, Life of Kitten.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
Yeah. Sorry. That's one of my kids' channels.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize I was signed in when I was going, hey everybody. But yeah, that's one of my kids' channels. They've recently been watching a lot of YouTubers, and in the last 2 weeks have been like, Dad, we want to start our own channel. So I was like, well, okay, this will be something fun for us to do over the summer, and we'll just kind of see how long it goes, So we've been throwing up some family events and some different things that we've been into. And today we blew up like 60 balloons and stuffed them in a closet, and I don't know, it's ridiculous fun, but we're enjoying it. So,
Are you putting that on like a separate channel or on the Texan Project?
Yeah, no, it's a separate thing.
Okay.
A Cat's Life and Life of Kitten, and they just both decided, hey, you know what, we want to do this, and it'll be a fun hobby for them. So, and it keeps me involved in what they're up to. So so that's all right too. It's nice to be necessary in your kids' lives.
Oh, for sure. I can imagine. Absolutely. So, hold on. Let me see if I can figure out. Let me pull this over here. How many people are tuning in? All right. So there we go. Just so we can see who's going on here. So really the chat room is, we try to focus on it episode to episode, but sometimes we get lost and talk. This is going to be we're going to, keep our eye really on that chat room and see what's going on over there. So we have a question from Heroes Throw. How amazing was Alita? Got my copy, and it has hours and hours of bonus like the US copy. Yeah, Alan, I'm pretty sure, right? It's Alan. Alan Steen is Heroes Throw. Yeah. Oh man, have you picked up Gershom? Have you picked up Alita?
Yes. I snagged the digital copy like hours before it released. So I was like, purchased, and then I was like, you can watch this in 6 hours. And I was like, sweet. So very little wait time. And I managed to catch it 3 times in the theater, and oh my gosh, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh wait. So okay. So you didn't pick up like any of the physical copies?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I wanted to be able to. I drive Lyft part time or full time in the evenings, and so I wanted to be able to stream it and just kind of have something to watch between rides.
Yeah, I gotta say, I haven't checked out the special features yet. I actually picked up 2 copies of it because I'm really into getting as many of the variant kind of copies and whatever you want to call them with James Cameron projects. So I picked up the regular Blu-ray, and I picked up Walmart had this really cool like gift set. It came with like a little Alita pop figure keychain.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
The other day, actually.
Nice. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I honestly don't plan on opening it at all. It's just that one is going to just stay in its packaging, and it's a cool set. But yeah, I gotta say, Alita, I saw it once, so you have me beat by 2. But in that one viewing, I went in having 0 expectations. I was not an Alita fan. I had no idea. The only reason I found out about it was because of Cameron. And I was pleasantly surprised with that experience. And I'm very excited to go back to it because there was a lot of stuff in there that I know just went right over my head, because on something like that, I think the first viewing, I think, is something of more, you're just watching it and you're just taking in all the visuals, because it's a very visual movie. It just hits you in the face with visuals. So I'm really curious to go back and see if I missed any kind of deeper meaning, or I'm sure it's in there. And it's definitely my favorite Robert Rodriguez movie. I'm not a big Robert Rodriguez guy, I've discovered.
Right on.
What he did, Spy Kids. I think that's
if that's the extent, man. Let me tell you what. I'm a big time Rodriguez fan, primarily because he started out with nothing as far as filmmaking experience, as far as budget. He really is a pioneer in what does he call it? Rebel Without a Crew. That idea of guerrilla filmmaking. So I take a lot of notes from him as far as things that he did to make his movies happen. He started with El Mariachi, and then sequeled that finally with Antonio Banderas in Desperado, and then sequeled that with Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Again, Banderas is back. Johnny Depp is in it now. But he started with, I think he was filming in Mexico or South Texas, and a lot of the people there spoke only Spanish. So his signage that was you're walking onto a movie set was in English. And he was just like, well, we put the signs up. If they didn't understand what it was, it's their fault, But they put the signs up saying you're walking into the movie set, and by crossing this sign, you're giving us rights to use your image on screen. And so, really just fantastic little tricks of the trade, being sneaky a little bit, but also just letting your passion drive and getting your film made. I want to say he made El Mariachi on a budget of, I think, $3,000. So he got, I think, about an 80-minute movie or so for a third of what we did Infiltrator for in a half-hour film. So anyway, but really, really stoked about just all the things that he's done since then. Spy Kids, not so much. Not so much on the Spy Kids, but the 2 Sin City movies, just absolutely mind-blowing, and especially his ability to translate something from a page, especially an illustrated page, into a visual medium, film, is fantastic. When I heard that he was going to be on the project, I was like, oh yeah, between him and Cameron, any of the changes they make are going to be nuanced. They're going to be necessary changes. And it's not going to be one of these things where we sit there and we go, wait, that's not Alita. You go over to Michael Bay and it's like Ninja Turtles, and you're like, yeah, that's not Ninja Turtles. That's That's bodybuilders with green skin. You know, it's there's something about, for me, it's a really big thing that source material gets honored. So with Rodriguez on the scene, I was like, oh, this is gonna be excellent.
Yeah. You know, it's this thing of just, I guess it's maybe his material that never has really caught my interest. Sin City. I always forget that he did Sin City. So, and it might be because that was like a movie, right? He only kind of co-directed that one, wasn't it? Like Quentin Tarantino was on that.
Okay, so that movie I think was broken into like 4 parts, and Tarantino guest directed, I believe, on one of them. And I also think, if I remember right, Frank Miller may have also directed an episode as well, or co-directed an episode. So, so yeah, I mean, Rodriguez helmed the thing, but he had I think two other directors, and Frank Miller being the creator of Sin City, in on the project, and Miller also has a cameo, if I recall, as a priest in a confessional in the film.
Okay. Yeah. It's this thing of like, he's so all over the map. I mean, talk about, well, you know, 2 completely different things, going from Spy Kids to, he also did Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Right. Yeah.
That's I grew up on that film. That, you know, that film has a kind of special place in my heart for sure. But yeah, you know, to go from that, like stuff like that to doing Sin City, and then of course, like you said, he did those Antonio Banderas movies, and then, you know, he comes back with this project, Alita Battle Angel, and you know, again, it's this thing of, I don't think a lot of people had heard of it up until Cameron was on board with it. Like, I mean, were you familiar at all with Alita?
I had seen it in, I want to say, the late 80s and early 90s. It was one of those things that I'd seen in the comic shop, and always been like, wow, that looks cool, but never, I mean, there was always some other priority for me, you know, spending money on, it was always Robotech or, you know, something like that as far as anime was concerned. So it was always one of those things I was like, okay, I'm getting to that next. And then, and, you know, it's something you pick up and you leaf through and you're like, oh my gosh, these are great illustrations. You know, it's the same quality of art as, say, Masamune Shirow, who did Ghost in the Shell and Appleseed. But so you leaf through and you're like, oh, this is really great art. I'm sure it's a really compelling story, but it's the thing that, for me, I ended up putting it back on the shelf and getting something that I had originally come into the store for. And then Alita just kind of faded into the background until the next time I walked in and repeated the cycle. So then I think about the mid-90s, I hear, you know, rumors of James Cameron's looking at the movie, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be great, because obviously we love all of his stuff. So he gets, you know, but it was always something that was kind of seemed like it was in production hell. You know, it's just, and Cameron's still talking about Alita, and maybe we'll see a Cameron Alita movie, and da da da. And then finally, you know, within the last 2 years, it was like, okay, this is really happening. So I'd heard of it, I'd seen it, I picked it up, but it was never something that was on my own shelf until just recently. And I've got a few of the digital copies, and I actually found one of the omnibus of some of the newer additions to the story. I mean, the thing is thick too. I mean, it's like, you know, it's a weapon. It's so thick, and it's actually got a James Cameron endorsement on the back that's like, you know, quote unquote, Alita is just absolutely badass science fiction or something like that. So it was kind of neat to finally pick one of those up, and I got it for $10. So hey.
Nice. Yeah, you know, I loved Alita, so I probably will be inspired to go back through Rodriguez's filmography. But definitely, if I had to call out a list of my favorite filmmakers, I don't think I'd ever be, at this point, I don't think I'd be encouraged to be like, oh yeah, Robert Rodriguez. He's just always, you know, because I haven't seen a lot of his really good movies. I've seen his family friendly movies, and then I've seen Alita, which you could say is family friendly as well. So yeah, it's,
I would say Desperado is probably the one that you'd want to start with. And then, like I said, if you haven't seen Sin City in a while, catch those two. Let's see, we got a couple other titles in the chat room. They've mentioned Machete, and there's a second one, I believe, Machete 2. And then there's From Dusk Till Dawn is another one of his. But man, the guy's Texas based, and he's doing a bunch of stuff down there with Troublemaker Studios. And it's cool. It turns out I had a couple of friends on Facebook who were in Alita. So it was kind of neat to see those things popping up on their feed. They're like, hey, look, here's my scene or whatever. And, or, hey, I was an extra in the background that was replicated several times for the audience and all those kind of things. So it's neat to see as someone, who's lived in Texas for so many years, to see that's kind of an anchor thing, I think.
Well, so there you go. I totally forgot, I lapsed on the fact that he is from Texas. So you're a little biased. You're a little biased.
I am proud.
Yeah, I mean, I would be too. If someone, I really can't think. I have to think like I'm going to. I can't think of a prolific filmmaker on that level that's come from. We'll just say Florida. We won't zero in on Orlando, but I can't think of of course you've had filmmakers, but I can't think of anyone that's really prolific that has come from Florida. So there's really nothing for us to really be, unless someone in the chat can let us know, or in the comments after the fact. I can't think of anyone from Florida. I think honestly, my mind initially goes to the two guys that did the Blair Witch Project. I know they came from Orlando, Florida. But I mean, they haven't really gone and done anything. Otherwise, I would definitely have had said their names. But yeah, it's Florida doesn't have that call, sort of like Texas or Georgia, or obviously the big ones, New York, Hollywood, or California.
Right.
But yeah, it definitely a bias, but regardless, I have to say, just to kind of cap the comment from Alan, Alita, yeah, totally took me by surprise, and I wonder how it would have varied had Cameron actually had 100% creative involvement in the film, because obviously he chose the other A film and went with Avatar, so he's definitely more focused on that.
Right.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but really every single film that he's worked on, even if it's a producer thing, and of course there's always, exclusions, but mostly the films he's made as a director, they all either start with an A or a T. It's crazy. It just hit me one day. I was like, he has this real affinity for the letters A and T. So you have Aliens, Abyss, Avatar, Titanic, True Lies, Terminator.
Yeah.
And of course Piranha, but you don't count Piranha. So it's just so bizarre to me. I don't know, those little fun tidbits that hit you. I was like, Cameron's only ever made movies with A's or T's. It's really bizarre. But anyways, either way, I wonder how it would have varied had he been the director on Alita. I wonder if it would have been, I think it's similar to, what was the other comment I heard him make about a film? Or it might have been Alita. He made a comment of saying, I would have taken it and I would have made it really hard R.
Jurassic Park.
Is it Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park was the one. The story, as I understand it, was that it's actually always Michael Crichton and Spielberg's thing. Apparently, they were friends, but Cameron had expressed some interest or gone looking into acquiring the rights. And later on in an interview, he said, "Oh, I would have made it like Aliens, but with dinosaurs," which is actually truer to the tone of the book. But then he also followed that up with, Spielberg was the right guy for this job because dinosaurs are for kids, and ultimately he gave the world a movie that kids could enjoy, which for me, I agree. But you know what? I'm still also out there going, you know what? I hope we get a high quality remake that is true to the novel, that gives us the whole 400-page story. you know, with all the depth and nuance that is in the book, because man, it's just a great story.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, you are correct. Yeah, it's and I think he might have. I think I might have heard that in one of the episodes of Story of Science Fiction when he was talking to, because he interviewed Steven Spielberg for that show, and I think he might have said that and dropped it in that particular episode. That's why, yeah, that's why it kind of stuck with me. I'm sure he said it other places, but that's definitely the first time I had ever heard that James Cameron was potentially going to make a Jurassic Park movie, and it's just everything happens for a reason. So you kind of look back and you go, no, like James Cameron on Jurassic Park, it truly was, I think, for better that Spielberg got a hold of that because of his, you know, they share the same sense of wonder, but you know, Spielberg has this you know, he has his own adjective, right? It's an adjective, Spielbergian, right? It's just he has that, you know, like appeal, and you know, to take that source material and kind of tame it. But I mean, Jurassic Park, dear God, like that movie is really intense for a PG-13 film. So I mean, they kept a lot of that in there. But yeah, it's just so weird when you start thinking of that stuff. But I think it also applied to Alita. I think I remember hearing him say that, you know, he also would have maybe taken this source material, and don't take what I'm saying with, you know, too much validity, but I believe I heard him say that he would have turned Alita, maybe because I'm pretty sure the actual source material is pretty graphic in terms of what it presents. I haven't read it, but I would imagine. So it's just interesting to think about, you know, if you would have taken this guy out and put this guy in, how different would the, you know, project have happened? We can only speculate. Cyborg Anna, she's like giving us this entire list of people that have come from Florida, and it's all good stuff. I was kind of more focusing on like film directors. You know, Bob Ross, not a film director. Ray Charles, incredible, not a film director. Wesley Snipes, actor. Yeah, so yeah, you're in stellar company there, Eddie. Yeah, you know, I'm sure there's been a lot of talented people that have come from Florida, but I was more focused on like prolific filmmakers, like the people that you really think of as like, you know, top tier or above top tier. Because again, I said like the Blair Witch guys, you know, they're not top tier, but they did make a really incredible film. Heroes Throw, it was just a PG in the UK. Kids were crying in the theaters. We didn't have a full-blown 12 and over rating then. Are you talking about Jurassic Park? I think you might be talking about Jurassic Park.
I'm talking about Alita, but maybe.
Oh, Alita? Oh, okay. Either way, interesting stuff. Yeah. Talking about, so this is a good segue that we can go with the Story of Science Fiction. Did you catch that at all when it was on AMC?
No, I missed it.
Oh, dude, you gotta check it out. Yeah, you got to check it out. You have to check it out. Okay. I actually missed it as well. So I just went on, I think it was iTunes. They have like the entire series on there for like $10. Ooh. And picked it up. It's like 6 episodes, each an hour long. And it's just, you know, a lot of it. And this kind of happened. Okay, he was talking about Jurassic Park. Okay, so these series that AMC has been putting out recently, there's been a couple. There was one for comic books that came from, I think, Robert Kirkman. I think it was called The Secret History of Comics. And then after this one, they did one with Eli Roth, The History of Horror. And this is definitely the best one that has been presented because, I mean, Cameron got, amongst other people, he got Guillermo del Toro, George Lucas, Christopher Nolan, Ridley Scott, Spielberg, Schwarzenegger was on an episode. Nice. It's just the amount of material that they cover, and each episode was dedicated to a specific, you know, subgenre of science fiction. So There's been like one on monsters. There's been one on time travel. There's been one on dark futures, stuff that is presented as, this storm, as you might want to say, coming toward us, this dark future. Just such great stuff. And this companion book is great because it has, let me just open it up here. You open it and you get this image.
Hey,
right?
Yeah, there we go.
So you get that. I mean, there's a lot of artwork from James Cameron's archives put in here. Interviews, all, with the 6 main people. There's the Spielberg interview.
Nice.
It's just it's not a chintzy book either. It's a really well put together book, and it's a geek fest for people like Gershom, for people like me, everybody in the chat room, I assume. So it's definitely worthwhile to check out. Cybergana or Alan, let me know if you've seen this particular series, because it was incredible. But yeah, Gershom, you need to check it out. It's an easy watch too. It's just, it's not a movie or anything. You just turn it on and you just get to watch all these incredible people that you know and love talk about the shit that we love, which is science fiction.
Very cool. Carl Pinson, shout out, man. What's up? Carl, guys, real quick, Carl's in chat with us. He was my my CG modeler for Infiltrator, brought us the HK Wasp at the end. Absolutely love his work. So while he's watching, gotta say hey to my man. Good job, man. Nice.
Yes, Carl, what's going on? Cybergana, happy 72nd birthday, Arnie. Where you are, not where we are. He's still 71. He's still 71. He turns 72 tomorrow for us. But I forget, Cybergana's 3 past midnight where she is. So
right on.
Yeah. Oh man, Arnold, 72. But he looks it's so weird. He looks better now with his beard and everything than he did 4 years ago when he was making Genesis. Like,
yeah.
It's so bizarre how like a beard changes everything.
One time my aunt made this comment about my uncle, saying that his beard gives him back his face. And I think every time I see Carl in the Dark Fate promo stuff, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what happened. Yeah, it kind of rounds him back out again and smooths him back out. Whereas in Genesis we had kind of the grandpa jowls a little bit, and you could see in the jawline. So I think that's what we're looking at there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Cybergana says looks better than T3. Yeah, I mean, he does definitely with the beard. I think the visual aesthetic of putting a beard on this character, I think really worked incredibly well. It's definitely okay. So this episode is kind of like a free form discussion. And when I told Gershom that that's kind of like the direction I think we should go, he was like, okay, aren't you like staying away from pretty much everything that is spoiler territory with Dark Fate? And I said, yeah, I am. I really want to go into this film, and it's tricky. It's super tricky. One, because it's just the day and age we live in. And the second you pull up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you have stuff right there.
It's just flooded with every group that you're in.
Yeah, it's it really is sucky at certain points. But the other thing is because we have Gershom and we both have pages, and we have sort of a responsibility. We're not just casual fans. We've taken it upon ourselves to really kind of put our voices out there, whether it be through posts, anything. So for me personally, it's really tricky because I almost feel like I have this duty that I have to somehow follow.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, because I don't want to go into this movie knowing everything. Right. But having said that, there's some stuff that you just can't avoid. Like I said, you pull up Facebook and then there's the thing right there, and it just put in your brain.
Well, and because they put the spoiler like in the headline or whatever, it's not just we've got some news about Dark Fate that just dropped this morning. It's like, and in other, in Terminator Dark Fate news, spoiler, and it hits you before the ellipsis takes over in the window. You're like, damn it. Now I know. I can't unsee that.
Yeah, but I actually have been wanting to ask you this because, out of the two of us, you're definitely more, I think, involved with knowing more. Like, I would think between the two of us right now, you probably know more about what is more than likely going to happen in the film. So does that bother you, or like have you taken it upon yourself to kind of go into that territory?
Yes and yes. The answer is just yes. I actually took myself off Reddit because there was so much spoiler talk. I reached a point years ago where I went, you know what, spoilers don't bother me because I'm going to find out anyway. It would have been great to find out about, Darth Maul's like second lightsaber in the movie without that, but they cut a crappy spoiler in the teaser trailer for it, so everybody knew, And I reached a point where I'm like, you know what, Hollywood's not going to learn fast enough that's not how you do a trailer. They're just going to keep dropping crap like that because it's a hook. For people who aren't interested, they might go, ooh, that's cool. And so there's this realization I had a few years ago where I was like, I'm just going to have to accept that spoilers are just going to happen. And I need to get myself past the point of being upset about it because you know what? It's taking away minutes from my life I don't get back. That's just the fact. Okay. So I just need to reach a point where I'm like, okay. I was going to find out anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and express the enthusiasm or disappointment in the spoiler now, quickly. That sucked. And move on. Or, hey, that's kind of cool. And move on. But with Reddit, there was so much just, I don't know how to call it, but bitching about the things that were dropped that I was just like, okay, you know what? I need to turn this off because it's fucking up my day. It's just really screwing with me right now. And then you have people who, the way it is with social media, you don't take ownership for your words anymore. People can just fire off whatever insult, whatever snarky comment that they want. And it's just out there in cyberspace, and it's for the receiver of that thing to either let it hit them full force or let it roll off. And it's just, at some point, it becomes too much work. Usually really good about just being like, yeah, whatever. Hey, I get comments all the time on Infiltrator. Hey, that sucked. And I'm like, hey, cool, that's nice. Thanks for your thoughts. Oh, by the way, your channel's really inspiring too. 123 views on the one video you have. That's nice. Do we do it that way? Do we let it roll off? Do we not respond? Whatever. But it almost becomes a hey, you know what? If that's the way you want to do it, we can do it that way. And when it comes down to the headlines and then all the news on Terminator Dark Fate, there's just no way around it. Everything that is newsworthy is just going to get out there because it is such a hot topic. You got James back, you got Linda back, you got Arnold back, and no one is going to ignore it at this point. They're going to drop the spoilers. They're going to create controversy. They're going to take whatever was said by the director or by one of the actresses and just blow it up for the world to see, and then just let everybody melt down. If it happens to trigger them, fuck you, right? I mean, that's just it. So it's been tough. You're right. We have a responsibility because we are kind of out there as more than just casual fans. But then it's, on the other hand, it's also been good for helping me set my expectations because you know me, I've written a script. Not just Infiltrator, but the thing that actually spawned Infiltrator was Skynet. Was my script Skynet. It's my Terminator 3. It closes the loop for me. It completes the story, and if there was anything to come after, it would allow a clean break, move on, redesign everything, reboot everything in 2042 or 50 or 60 or whatever else. And you don't necessarily have to. You actually have a closure to the Connor Skynet cycle. So I have that. And now I'm hearing all the things, and some of it was like, oh, this is actually kind of in line with what, and then they drop a couple other bits, and I'm like, oh, fuck, that's not it at all, And now I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. how much ownership do I really have in this? You know, it was kind of a wake up call for me. I was like, you know what, this is James Cameron's property. You know, and while I may not be thrilled with the way it's going or the way it's allegedly going, A, we haven't seen the film yet, so we don't know for sure. It's all rumor hunting right now. And B, it was never mine to begin with. You know, so really, I almost need to go back to James Cameron's interview where he endorsed Terminator Genesis, and where he goes, and I'm just a fanboy and I'm along for the ride. It's been a really weird thing for me to kind of go, you know what? That's actually that's the chair I need to sit in at this point. You know, because we're consumers. We have no control really. You know, now there's been rumors about reshoots. There's been rumors about, you know, what is and isn't in the film. You know, test footage, whether it was a complete cut or not, that's up for debate. You know, and it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to spend the next, what do we got, 5 months completely melting down over this whole thing, you know, and then come to find out, A, it was either true, or B, it wasn't, or C, it was worse. You know, nobody needs that kind of stress.
Yeah, like you said, though,
the box closed.
Yeah, like the thing that you said that was, you know, that's tricky for everybody, I think, is we have to remember, like you said, that it's so hard because we are like this level and the level that you're at where you're writing your own stuff. You know, we feel like we have ownership over this. Like we feel this thing means so much and these things mean so much. So now if you as Skydance are going to come in and get the rights to it and create your own things, that's okay. You can create your own stuff, but you really have to do what these two things back here did. And, you know, that's the stuff that really kind of bothers me. When it comes to spoilers and hearing about stuff, because it on one level, I'm thinking, okay, well, at the end of the day, this may or may not be true. It's a 50-50 kind of thing going on here. This supposed spoiler might just be fake, might just be trying to get you to click on that thing. Or it could be real. We don't know. That's the one thing that I'm always battling with spoilers, and why I've really just been like, okay, well, I'm going to be as naive to them as possible, stay away, because I don't even want that going on in my head. And then the other thing is, you know, this just real passion for Terminator and wanting to keep up to date with it, because we live in this time where if you're not up to date with it, you feel like you're just lagging and everyone else is so far ahead of you, and no one wants that. And, you know, we all want to feel like we're kind of together in this, like the fandom for this particular thing is jotting along together, and then we get to the final product, and from that point on, now we're really able to kind of determine for ourselves what it meant to us. And that's the thing. You know, I've really been so hit with this notion of, I love all this stuff. Like, I love that we're able to do this. I love social media. I love, for the most part, I really wish that we lived in a time where we could just hear about a movie coming out. We could hear about, oh man, okay, did you guys hear about that new Terminator movie? They're making another Terminator movie.
Right.
That's it. Like, we just know it's a Terminator movie. So for all we know, it's a sequel to Genesis. Okay, so some would be happy. Most would be like, oh, fuck. And so then they would release just tiny little things. You wouldn't even know that Linda Hamilton is back. If My Perfect World existed, you would not know Linda Hamilton is back. You would assume Arnold's back. You would just assume, because like that's, you know, everyone has said that. You would go into that theater not knowing anything. You would know the title, Terminator Dark Fate, and you would know. I would reveal that James Cameron came back, because you have to get some level of excitement, because you have to, get those people that fucking loathed Genesis back on board. So I understand it from a business point of view. You have to announce certain things, but I would not have revealed at all if I had, my way. Linda Hamilton's return would have been completely kept under wraps. You would have gone into that theater on November 1st in the United States, and you would have sat down and you would have been like, all right, I have no idea what I'm going to watch. For all I know, this is a sequel to Genesis. You sit down, and then, like in the trailer that we see, that, car swoops around and she steps out. And
Yes.
it's so much more impactful, because you have to remember, in a trailer, it's quick cut. So I remember watching that trailer. Like, I remember sitting at home with the countdown on the YouTube screen, because that was how monumental this was. I don't think they do that for a lot of trailers. It was but there was a countdown, and
Right.
I was getting so excited. We knew Linda was back, but we don't, had only seen her in behind the scenes photos. And then the trailer played, and that music that I still love, kind of, stops for a moment, kind of, gives her moment, but it's so quick because it's a trailer. Right. So it's like that feeling that you have of seeing Sarah Connor, the real Sarah Connor, back, it hits you, and then the trailer just takes it away, because now the trailer is moving on. Whereas in the movie, you hope it's going to be more, this is her moment. It's going to really focus on her. There's not going to be any kind of cutaways or anything. It's really going to give her the triumphant return that she deserves. But when we're watching it, it's not going to mean anything to us, because we had already seen it.
Right.
That's the real issue I have with films these days. So, especially with big budget franchise films. So,
well, and they put so much hype behind it too. Like with Star Wars: The Force Awakens, when that was the fresh thing that was hitting, and there was so much hype behind it. It's like, I honestly can't imagine the stress that must be on an actor, on a director, on cast and crew, to be like, okay, we've pumped this thing up. Are we really 100% sure that we nailed it? Even if you feel great about it. I mean, you know what it's like to go through a test of some kind and come out of that going, yeah, I rocked it, right? And then you get the thing back and you realize, like on the Scantron, that you skipped a number and then you transposed everything up one. And so you missed everything down from like number 20. You're like, oh, shit. And that's the thing that I'm kind of, that I'm anxious about with this film, is it's like, have they hyped it so much and raised expectations so much that when we finally get there, is it really going to be able to meet those expectations? Or are people going to get up halfway through the movie when they're like, oh God, I can't believe they actually, that spoiler was true. I hate you, F you, blah, 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 and there's angry people walking out. Or are we going to be snared enough in the story that even if certain expectations are not met, we go, you know what, I want to see how this goes.
Yeah, that is the dilemma. It's so frustrating. It really is frustrating. But nonetheless, I, like everyone else, I believe I am, we are so on board with it. And I wanted to talk a couple things that are supposed spoiler territory, but I feel like if I know about this, the guy that's avoiding the stuff, it's okay to talk about it here, because everyone probably knows about it. So this might have actually been something that we talked about in another episode, but it's not sticking out to me. So I don't know if we touched on it, to a real in-depth level. But where did this Carl thing come from? Is that actually confirmed that he is called Carl in this movie?
Yes.
He is called Carl.
For Arnold Schwarzenegger's character is It is a confirmed thing.
Interesting. Okay, so then okay, so that has me, it has me really thinking, like, because when I found that out and I was like, Carl, why does he have a name? Like, why is there a name all of a sudden? There's never been a name besides Genesis. And that wasn't even necessarily a name. That was just like a label, Pops or Guardian or whatever.
Right.
So Carl, yes, like Cyborgiana says, Carl's draperies on that in that picture with that really cool throwback in the number.
Drag, yes.
I love that shit. Like that is good fan service right there.
Right.
Not beating us over the head, but like just sticking that thing in there that.
Yeah, if you notice it, you notice it, and if you don't, you notice it on home video someday.
Yeah, like that's the stuff that I just eat up as fan service. So that's good stuff. Carl's draperies. So Carl, me, Gershom. I am so on board with him being a fucking human in this movie. And I don't know if anything has been revealed. I still am totally naive to Arnold's character as far as that goes. The only thing I've seen in terms of actual film is that one part of him coming out of the house, and that's where I want to leave it. That is so where I want to leave it. And I don't believe at Comic-Con they showed footage, but I don't think that footage has been made publicly available. The only thing that's been made available from that was that featurette, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with because it's just Arnold talking as Arnold. Beautiful. Was there anything else that came out of that I am definitely not aware of?
As far as Carl's character?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some reveals about his character so far. I don't know if you want me to say it here or not, but there have been some reveals, and a lot of that stemmed from the test footage leak, the test screenings leak that happened, I think, about a month ago. They gave some pretty heavy reveals as to his character and some of the ways that he might fit into the plot. I gotta say, one of the things about this movie is it really comes down to how the characters choose to give exposition in the film, as far as who a certain character is, or how things have transpired. There's always the debate about the timeline, right? Is it one timeline? Is it two timelines? Is it multiple timelines? Is there something that we did in one of the movies that replaces or alters or knocks things off course? Fans, I'm sitting here going, guys, I'm personally going, let Terminator play by its own rules. Stop trying to make it Doctor Who. Stop trying to make it Back to the Future. Okay, let it play by its own rules, whatever those are, whatever we find out that they are in this new movie. If they've changed a bit or if they've been expanded on, whatever those rules are, let them be. But it occurred to me, I was like, as far as reshoots go, because that's been a thing that's been talked about, if they're changing the narrative from what was in the test footage, it's really going to be about putting an actor in front of a screen and having them say a different set of words. That's really about all it takes. As far as backstory, as far as what's happened in the future, according to characters that come back from the future, according to Grace, the intervening years from whenever this movie is set, I think 2022 or something like that, to through 2029, which is always the big date for us as Terminator fans so far. On into whenever they're coming back from, whatever's happening there is going to be either something that they show us in a future, like an up then flash forward, or they're going to just have the characters in present day tell Sarah Connor, well, this is how it goes, and our expectations really are going to hinge upon what those characters say and what they reveal. And also, what's been revealed as far as, James Cameron says the story's going to continue Sarah Connor's story. It's going to continue John Connor's story. It's going to continue, the forward development of artificial intelligence. How? Well, I guess we're just going to have to wait till November 1st to find out.
Or what is it, October for the UK or something?
Yeah, the UK gets like a week early, don't they?
God damn it. I can't get past that. Like, that just bothers me. I don't know. Maybe Cyborganic can confirm that for us. But
right.
Yeah. So, okay. So there have been reveals for Carl, but yeah, I want to stay naive to those. So we're going to let that be what it may. Let's see. I'm even hesitant to look at the live chat here, but I will. Reshoots are down to the late granted hard R and putting the gore in with authenticity. Yeah, that was something that. Okay, so I want to talk about that. Because that was something that I really enjoyed. I watched it in its entirety, that entire panel. But then I also watched, they did a couple other things for not San Diego Comic-Con, but while they were at San Diego Comic-Con, they did a really good, and I'll have it linked down below in case anybody catching this after the fact hasn't seen it. But they did a great kind of like cast panel for Reddit. And there was a... I remember watching it for the first time, and I don't know if you've seen it, Gershom, but there was a question that was asked, and they asked it to Arnold, and the question was, is this movie going to be as terrible as the last one?
Oh yeah. I remember seeing that question.
Like, I remember, okay, so that happened, right? I was watching it. I was kind of just haphazardly lounging and maybe eating a bowl of cereal. Like, I don't know what I was doing, but I remember that happened, and I just like paused it, and I was like, oh my God, yes, thank you. Like, this is the stuff that doesn't get asked because, you feel like you have to hold a level of professionalism. I was like, damn, Reddit, like,
yeah.
Fuck yeah, go for it. And then I was like, all right, I really got to prepare myself to see what Arnold says. Pressed play. I'm not going to like ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. I really want you guys to check it out. I'll put like when it starts in the description box below. But yeah, it's such a great answer, and it's such a great question. Like, I love that part about it. But that whole panel with Comic-Con was great. Miller revealing that, I don't know if it was in that panel or if it was in the Reddit one, he talked about it somewhere that they had a different approach. They were going to go a different route with the film, and then it came out as being rated R. I don't know what that means. Did you pick up on that? Like, did they have the intention of making it PG-13? And then they were like, no, you guys can make it R if you want, go ahead. Or did they always think about it as being rated R, and they were just going to get there one way or another? And that's what he was talking about.
I think it's the latter. I'm pretty sure, Tim Miller, being as big a Terminator fan as he says, and also having Deadpool as a credit, I honestly don't believe PG-13 was ever a real possibility for him. And I'm pretty sure because of our understanding of James Cameron's films and the track record he has for making very in your face R movies. With what, Titanic maybe being the only exception, possibly The Abyss. I think that might have been a PG-13. I don't think PG-13 Terminator and James Cameron are ever compatible terms that you would try to link up together. So yeah, I think he just meant, what, our approach to this was basically to get the R any way we could get it, and so we didn't hold back anything.
True. Yeah. Also Avatar. So he has this kind of like half of his films, well, actually more than half, 4 out of the 7 are rated R, and then the other 3 are PG-13. Right? The Abyss is PG-13.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing in there that really came off as rated R. True Lies is definitely R. So, you have this kind of balance, but the one thing that, sticks out in Cameron's thing up until Avatar, he only made one sequel beyond, Aliens, and Alien wasn't something he created. So he only had one sequel, and that was Terminator, and that was kept through the rated R. So, okay, yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking too, that it was always going to be rated R, but he made a good point. He made a really good point in talking to whoever he was talking to, Tim Miller. He said, if we announced that if we said we were going to be making this rated R, then we wouldn't have gotten as much money to make the film, because that's how studios work. So I think they approached it to the studio as, we're making a PG-13 Terminator film. That's what we're doing. And this falls very much in line with what Tim Miller, I think, did with Deadpool, because he seems like he has this, I don't know what the word is, like sneaking approach to his filmmaking. Like, he doesn't always behind the scenes, he doesn't always give everything, I don't think, to the studio. Like when they're in meetings and such, I feel like Tim Miller is someone who has the vision in his head, and then he either knows going into that meeting whether or not the people he's going to be talking to are going to be on board. And I think he really bullshits them in those meetings. And he's like, we're going to do this and this. In his mind, he's going, fuck you, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And you're going to love it at the end of the day. It's going to really, come back to you, and it's going to give you good results. Right. So I think that's what he did with Terminator Dark Fate. I think he bullshitted them a little bit. And was like, we're going to make something along the lines of Genesis in terms of rating. And so, give us a lot of money, And then when they were on, set filmmaking, I think that's really where the whole, we got to make this even feel like a true Terminator film.
Once deals are inked and checks are cashed, I think that's the thing that when you're doing a big budget film, that's the thing that you have to kind of look at. Well, it's small time films too. I mean, if you've got investors in your independent film too, and someone who would be contributing a large sum of money gets wind of something about your film that they don't like, or they might pull that funding. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a political game in negotiating deals, and negotiating what the budget of a film is going to be. And obviously you want as much money as you can get. But if your investors, your investors are like, well, they've funded a lot of PG-13, but they are staunchly opposed to R, that we can't tell them what the rating is going to be, or we're gonna say, well, it's gonna have this much, it's gonna play right up to the line, it's gonna be all the PG stops that we can pull and still get a PG-13 and still get a PG-13. We're gonna do that. We are gonna drop an F-bomb once. We are gonna, there's going to be machine gun violence and blood and dead people and all that stuff. And then everybody goes, okay, well, we're happy with that. Here's all the money. And then afterwards you go, well, we've shot everything. We've got everything where we can do the effects. We went ahead and shot some blood. We may have crossed the line, but we wanted to be sure we got everything. Hey guys, you know what? Thanks for funding our movie, but you know what? We've got to go with an R on this. I don't feel right about it. And then you just push it,
Exactly. And Terminator, this is a real debate that we could have going on, because I mean, you think about, when I think about the ratings for the two Terminator films that are PG-13, I focus more on Salvation and asking the question, is it actually possible to present a Terminator story that feels valid and doing it in PG-13 form? You look at Genesis and you really question that question. Like, you question the question I just asked. You go, no, like everything in that film feels like doesn't feel like anything that a Terminator film would feel like. And it's partly due to, not entirely, but partly due to that PG-13 rating. And Arnold talks about this in his response to that question. you focus on Salvation and you look at that film, and that film is a PG-13 film. And there's a lot that they did leave out, and you watch it. And I'm actually going to be doing this week. Actually, I'm really excited. I'm recording my commentary with Ami Prasad, who I don't know if he's watching right now, but he's joining me for a Terminator Salvation commentary track. So I'm going to revisit that film. But just off the top of my head, I still remember there's a lot missing from that film. But I think that film takes that question I asked, can you present a Terminator film and have it feel valid just in terms of the violence and everything? Can you do it? Salvation almost does it. It's the approach that they took to that film, because that film is still pretty damn violent. And you ask yourself, this is like the real question. Why is Terminator a rated R thing? Why does it fall in line? Why were these two films rated R and not PG-13? You know, why did they have to be that? And I think it comes back to the message that you want to get across. And if you kind of water it down, then that message you're trying to get across doesn't come across as hard hitting. You go back to T2 and you think, okay, I'm going to shoot that scene where Sarah is talking to Silberman and losing her shit, right? Literally telling him everybody in this room is fucking stupid except for me, because I know what happens. And you kind of water that down, taking out, you know, all those expletives that really make it hard hitting. And you ask yourself, you know, would it have the same impact, her just yelling, or her yelling and saying, you know, what's that line? What's the line? Everybody,
Silberman. Yeah, if you say it without the F-bomb.
Yeah, everybody not wearing 3 or 2 million sunblock is going to have a real bad fucking day, or some shit like that. You know, it's just it's stuff like that. And then you look at, you really think about T2 on a scale of 1 to 10. How violent is it?
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I have seen incredibly violent films. I have seen beyond violent films. Terminator 2, compared to those films, it's kind of tame, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you know, even Terminator 1, what the difference is they might not show, you know, they might not show Arnold going into a guy and pulling his heart out and like really focusing on that.
Right.
But it's the fact that they do show us little snippets of it, and then we see the afterward, like the aftermath of him holding a damn heart.
In
his hand.
Yeah. Well,
that's what does it.
A lot of the horror movies that actually show you the blood and guts, years later, turn out to not be that scary. You know, you go back and you watch it and you're like, all right, that's a zombie movie, and he bit the girl's belly button ring out, and it's this gooey, gushy, blah, blah, whatever. You know, a lot of the George A. Romero movies, I go back and watch some of those, and I'm just like, I remember when I was 5 and it scared the crap out of me. You know, at 42, I could fall asleep to it. You know, but one of the things that they do in the first Terminator especially is there's a lot of implied violence. You know, we don't see him shoot the first wrong Sarah Connor. The laser thing goes to her forehead, and it's on the Terminator pulling the trigger 6 or 7 times. You know, we don't actually see her body get riddled with bullets. But the tension in that moment is so real that they don't have to show us. We know what it's going to be. You know, the future Terminator breaks into the bunker, and he puts that plasma rifle on the dogs, and but we never see it. We hear the dog yelp. Okay. So I think one of the things that made the first movie such a success, and an R-rated success at that, was that it's a very psychological R. You know, the horror and the terror of it and the violence of it even is implied, and it's fast. You know, the only really truly disturbing violent acts that we see in that movie, I think, are when the Terminator does its own mechanical repair on its wrist and on its eye. Those are the moments where I went, ah! As a kid, I remember being 7 years old and going, oh my God, I don't fucking understand what's going on here. You know, it freaked me out. But the rest of the movie is, by today's standards, kind of run-of-the-mill implied violence and action. You know? And that's not to say it's not spectacular. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's better than a vast majority of films that show you the blood spray and the bullets. I mean, you take the Terminator and compare it to a Paul Verhoeven movie, RoboCop, you know, where people's hands are exploding and you know it is blood spray on the screen, and you know, or Predator where they blow the back out of Mac's head right onto the screen. You know, Terminator is a very subtle movie by comparison.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And then it gets even more, I think, tame with T2. And so you really ask yourself, I mean, how did T2 attain its, you know, R rating? And it really does come down to the language. Like the language is a big reason, I think, why these films are rated R. You know, and then of course you have the love scene in T1. You get a little, you know, a couple glimpses. But you know, you really ask yourself, why is Terminator a R-rated story and not PG-13? And it comes down to the message that it's trying to get across, and whether it's in implied violence, whether it's not graphically shown violence, it's still violence, and you need to see some kind of form of it. And you get to Genesis, it's so watered down. It is so watered down and doesn't look real. And Salvation had that. So that was really where I was kind of going with just that. You know, I think Salvation had that opportunity, and they really walked that line of okay, so we're not going R. We're going to try a different approach here, because we got to remember that was the first time that had ever happened. We're going to try a different approach here. You know, they had 3 films rated R. Let's make a PG-13 one now. And they walked a real fine line. So it is great news that this is going to be rated R, that it's confirmed. The other thing that I definitely wanted to touch on, now that we're really, and I kind of planned on us focusing on Dark Fate, the whole Edward Furlong thing, because that's definitely something that's been put out there.
Yes.
So what is your, because I've been pretty vocal about it in terms of actually being vocal, like literally vocal about it. What is your take on it, so that people can have kind of like hearing your voice in terms of what you feel about this supposed news?
Well, clarify real quick. What have you heard specifically?
So I'm basing this off of just that announcement from James Cameron when he was talking, and he was like, and Eddie Furlong is back as John Connor, and then just kept moving on.
In the movie. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. My initial impression was that he was simply saying, and we've got his digital face, a performance by him for Jude Colley, so we can do, you know, a CGI makeup and make what 12, 13-year-old John Connor happen for the film. Other people, you know, other comments have said, no, that means he's actually going to make an appearance in the film. If that's the case, then the question becomes, well, is it going to be a 2029 Future War appearance, which in one sense would contradict established Michael Edwards John Connor? You know, are we going to get Michael Edwards' face on Eddie's body, or what? Or are they talking about that Eddie actually makes a John Connor appearance in the present day bulk of the story? You know, so those become my questions. he is listed on IMDb as John Connor. I believe Jude Colley is also listed on IMDb as John Connor. So I don't know if they're actually getting towards that special effects shot that they wanted to achieve for whatever that sequence is, or if we're going to actually see Eddie Furlong as his present day age as John Connor in the film opposite Sarah, opposite Carl. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be. I do know that he had to cancel a He had to cancel a Comic-Con or a comic convention appearance because he's on set. I want to say in the next coming weeks to do whatever the filming is.
Yeah. Okay. So, Brad Fidel also was on IMDb. I don't take IMDb really too heavily these days,
Sure.
because that's kind of my thing. It's like,
that was
don't forget
the whole thing, wasn't it?
Say it again.
That was the cry wolf of the whole thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have to remember that, we were all excited. We were like, it's IMDb confirmed. Brad Fidel's back. And then it just went away after he announced it. See, right. The trouble with Edward Furlong is, it's been confirmed a bunch of places. Even when I was talking to him at Spooky Empire, he doesn't have social media. So he's not someone that can confirm or deny it in a mass kind of, he can't tweet something. He can't do anything. He doesn't have any of that stuff. Anything that you see with Edward Furlong is fan stuff. So there's an issue right there. I've been pretty vocal about it, and I'm still holding true to the fact that I don't think Edward Furlong is coming back in the way that we think, like when that announcement initially was made, and then like everybody blew that thing so far out of the stratosphere. It was nuts. And then of course I saw after that hype, and then I started seeing like reports of like, oh, this announcement brings up Edward Furlong's past, and is it right that he can still get work and all this stuff? And I'm just like, okay, I don't think he's in the movie the way we're thinking he's in the movie. I think it is the CGI thing. Mm-hmm. That's why he called him Eddie Furlong, because I posted about this not too long ago. James Cameron and Edward Furlong are not close. They have not seen each other in years. He confirmed that at Spooky Empire when I talked to him. And so with that in mind, James Cameron knew Edward Furlong when he was Eddie Furlong. This is just a little thing. This is not something to take, really, it's just a little tiny argument. He knew him when he was Eddie Furlong. Yeah. Eddie Furlong is now Edward Furlong. He is an adult. He's in his 40s. He's not a kid. Mm-hmm. So it just seemed odd to me when he was announcing it that he didn't go, and Edward Furlong is back. It's not like they're friends with each other, like the way Cameron and Arnold are. Right. For Cameron to call Arnold Arnie, that's fine. He can call him whatever the hell he wants. They bike together frequently. It's weird that he would call an adult Edward Furlong Eddie, and they aren't close. Like they haven't seen each other in years. So it just seemed odd to me that he was like, Eddie Furlong's back. Take that with whatever you may. People have commented and said, it's a nickname and he just called him by his nickname. Sure, maybe. But it just seemed weird to me. Even if Edward Furlong is supposedly in Dark Fate, trust me, this was my main point. The guy does not look like my John Connor anymore. I don't want to see the present day Edward Furlong, as great as he looks compared to what he has looked like. I still don't want to see that Edward Furlong as my John Connor, as my guy who is leading the human resistance. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see that. Now, I don't know how they're going to go with it, like maybe a different approach. John Connor is some other guy now. He's of no importance. He gets killed off. I don't know. I'm just viewing this with the knowledge that we do have based on this film right here. He doesn't fit the bill the way he looks. If I see that on film, I'm going to be like, that's terrible, because he looks great, but he's definitely not fully 100% recovered. I don't know if he ever will be from his insane addiction to all the drugs that he was doing back in the day. I don't know if he'll ever recover from it. Even the way he talks, it's very kind of, it has a lot of up and down, and it's not a consistent tone. It's just, he's still battling this come down from those addictions. So having said all that, if he is in the film and he's a major key player in the film, dear God, I hope that they really, get the best take with him, that they film a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
They don't just say, hey, here's your stuff, quickly film it and get out of here. Like, I hope they really take their time, because if they quickly film that shit, I think it's going to be bad, because Edward Furlong is not an actor of real top-notch material.
Here's what I think my best hope for his role in the movie is, as a background character in the present day, that he's somebody that we are aware of his presence. Maybe we see kind of a shadowy cameo at one point. But he's basically in a space in his own journey that he talks about in the first movie, when he says, "Thank you, Sarah, for your courage through the dark years." Okay. I hope that speech by Kyle Reese is something that they're actually kind of leveraging with this whole dark fate motif in the title. Okay. That Sarah is on her own, and it's just dangerous for John to be out in public. So he has voluntarily, and without her permission or agreement or consent, isolated himself in an attempt to possibly protect her, preserve the idea that, hey, you know what, maybe at some future point I step back into the scene and become that savior of mankind that everybody says I'm supposed to be. That would be, in my opinion, that would be the best way for them to segue the whole thing of passing the baton from the Connors to Grace and the new cast. Is in the background in Dark Fate and in its two sequels that they have mapped out, John is running in the background, such that he fulfills what we've seen in the future war sequences, the whole idea that he sends back Kyle Reese and Uncle Bob and all that he's running in the background. But we're gonna follow a couple of characters, a handful of characters whose fates are not known. That we have John doing what he does, but we're not focusing on John Connor anymore. We're going to these characters whose mortality is very important to us, because we don't know who they are in the future.
Very true. Very true. And if they go that route, which they definitely seem to be going, then they really have this film has a big hurdle to get past, which is really transitioning the audience from this notion of John Connor John Connor is the end all be all. Without John Connor, there is nothing. If they're going to screw around with that idea, if they're going to mess with that, fine. Long as they, take that and really make it a point and make it feel organic and make it feel okay. I'm okay with that. If it's shoehorned in, if it's something that doesn't feel right, it's going to be a real, that's possibly my biggest fear right now with the film, knowing that it seems like John Connor is of no importance anymore. So how do you make that make sense to the audience, without being totally in our face? It's a real tricky thing, but I'm just nervous. I'm really nervous. And watching the chat room go up here, I just wanted to comment on what Cyborgiana said. He's an incredible actor. I would argue that he was an incredible actor. The guy had so much potential, and he threw it down the drain in, return for what he got addicted to.
Mhm.
I don't think he's an incredible actor anymore. He's a great guy. He was so nice. He was so nice when I met him. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I don't know if he's an incredible actor anymore. That's something that you have to really train. It's not like riding a bicycle. You get back on and you're immediately great again. You have to really focus on your craft. And I've seen other Comic-Con conventions and talks with him, and the guy is like really hard pressed for work. People don't want him. People don't want to cast him. If they do want to cast him, it's in small things. He's really fallen off the map. So I'm not trying to be negative on Edward Furlong, but the facts are the facts. And I think that I would love for him to prove me wrong. I would love to watch Dark Fate and go, oh my God, yes, Edward Furlong.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I think as a fan, we're caught between that place of understanding the hard reality of choices, and also wanting to have an undying hope for people that have actually been heroes for us. Edward is, he's John Connor forever, right? But then at the same time, his own personal choices have kind of taken him down a very difficult path. For me, as a fan, I think there would be nothing greater than for him to make some kind of triumphal return, whether it's in the Terminator story or not, just personally in his own life. And I think that's where everybody is. We're pulling for Edward on a personal level. If he's in the movie, great. If he happens to wow us in the movie, that's great. But I think the real win is that he keeps making the progress that he's making.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we get to see more of a John Connor in real life that is even more real than the John Connor we were hoping to see in whatever forthcoming Terminator movies there are.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has made such a great transition from what he was to what he is.
Yeah.
And, that's something that reading those articles about his past coming back into the light and all those things that he went through with his, not just addiction, but with violence towards people that he's like loved, all that stuff. It's a real tricky thing for me because the guy I saw at that convention for a pretty good amount of time, I saw him multiple times throughout the day. He was nice. He was a great guy. It's tricky for me to be like, the guy was great. And then of course I read this stuff and I go, well, that's almost, the stuff that he's being accused of. I don't know if it's been proven.
Right.
It's just unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And he can make a comeback. Absolutely. I'm sure at some point, if he really wants to. I don't know if he wants to. That's the thing. I don't know if he wants to be an incredible actor anymore. I think he's totally fine with being good with himself and really banking off of his past, because people are going to give him money for the rest of his life. He can make comic book convention appearances for the rest of his life and he'll be set. So that's the thing I think he should really focus on, not trying to be an incredible actor, because he had his chance and he blew it. So that's what I want to say about that. Carl, he said James Cameron can coach the shit out of him. He could. Here's the issue. James Cameron is not on set. This is something that has really upset me personally with James Cameron and his kind of bigger focus in terms of being readily available for stuff. It seemed like he was more in depth on Alita than he is on Terminator. That kind of upsets me a little bit. But at the same time, I guess I understand. It's just this thing of like, come on, Cameron. You couldn't have been a little more involved, but you were totally involved with Alita. Why aren't you going to be involved with the thing you created? I don't know. It's people have said it's Avatar related shit. He's James Cameron. if there's one guy who can call off work, it's James Cameron.
Well, that's yeah. I think that sentiment is probably going to be echoed, or nullified, based on the reception of Terminator: Dark Fate. It really just depends on how it does. We're either going to come away going, that was absolutely everything it needed to be, or we're going to come back to your comment just now and be like, why the hell wasn't he involved more? It could, if he could have been more hands-on, it would have been. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. When I was talking to him, he was like, yeah, man, that was totally my fault. I was supposed to be in, T3, but I overdosed on Coke. It's just, I just want to say that I love the guy, and we're going to move on from this, but I'm trying not to be too negative towards him, but it's one thing to appreciate the guy, Edward Furlong, and then it's another to trust him with that character that means so much to so many people and doing it justice again. If he can do it justice, I'll eat my words. I will eat my words, and I will be happy to eat my words.
Right.
But that's the thing. Can he do it justice? I'm worried, and that's why I'm so vocal about this, because I'm worried, because this means so much to me, and it should mean so much to everybody. We shouldn't be like, oh, it's Edward Furlong. Yeah, bring him back. Bring him back. Is he right to come back? Is this the right time for Edward Furlong to come back? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's always a tough. Linda Hamilton, absolutely the right time.
Oh, for sure.
Arnold, like you said, I think everyone expects him to be back. Jim, finally, big eyes, finally, thank you. But Eddie, I guess it really does. It really just depends on the personal strides that he's made, and how focused and intensely, zeroed in on making this great that he wants to be with it. But that said, I always hope for the best with him. Like I said, John Connor forever.
Absolutely. So those were the things I wanted to talk about. Was there, in terms of Dark Fate, is there anything that is pressing on your side over in Texas that you wanted to mention here?
With regard to Dark Fate, not really. God, I just hope it's a good movie.
Right.
Like I said, the biggest thing for me was just letting go of expectations. I always remind myself, when I'm really, really rocked by something or disappointed by something or potentially disappointed by something, I always go back to that movie 500 Days of Summer, where there's a split screen, and the one side shows his expectation of the night at the party with Summer that he hopes to have, and how on the other side of the screen it starts out very closely synced up, and then slowly it begins to diverge, and the expectations is going right where he wants it to go, and the reality side is just slowly spiraling completely off, and by the time the sequence is over, they are absolutely nothing in common. And the one ends with him, I think, kissing her, and they start to make out, and then the other ends with him leaving without even saying goodbye. It's always one of those things for me. Whenever especially now, when I go into headlines and articles about Dark Fate, I start with that in mind. I go, okay, I have my expectations, but I need to table them for the story that's about to be told.
Yep, exactly. All right, so that was the Dark Fate talk. I really wanted to save, because we thought about talking about the books, but I really do, because I really want to get Randall Frakes on here.
Yes.
So I want to save as much of the Randall Frakes stuff as possible for his episode, because I think that's just going to be so special. So in the chat room, because we are definitely focusing on this more than we have in the past, what do you guys want to talk about? You guys kind of throw some suggestions here at us, like maybe like a Q&A kind of thing. If you guys want to hear what we have to say, and then of course, whatever we say goes back to you guys and we have a good talk back and forth. Let's see here. No chance he's been getting fit too long. This was planned. Oh, okay. She's talking about what Carl said. Carl, future projects. Skynet.
Well, let me talk about past future projects. Skynet is something that's been tabled until we're absolutely sure that the story they're telling isn't potentially still going to go there. My idea was to take the future war head on, 2029, and I wanted to, when we were originally planning to do something with that, we were going to crowdfund it. We were going to use Infiltrator as the pitch video, and say, hey, look, we did it for 30 minutes. I think we can do it for 5 times as long. Throw money at us and we'll make our movie. That was kind of our idea with that. But then very, very soon after we started taking steps forward, it was like, oh, they're doing another Terminator movie. And it's right about the time James Cameron gets the rights back. And so we were like, oh, well, maybe we'll finish Infiltrator and we'll table Skynet for now. We'll shelve it and we'll see what happens with this new movie. Because if they're telling the same story, there's no need to do a fan level retelling of this same story. So, so we put that, we've kind of put that on hold indefinitely until we know what Terminator Dark Fate's going to do. And if it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're going a completely different way, then we might dust that off, and we might be hitting you guys up and saying, hey, let's make it happen.
Now, what was this thing that I saw Morgana talk about? Oh, okay, you were going there.
Yes, I was going there.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
In the after hours Terminator 101 chat that we've got going on Facebook, there's obviously been some ideas about, ooh, what about this story? And what about this story? And what about that? And Morgana and I started talking about doing a present day short that takes some heavy cues off of the first Terminator movie. So we're in the beginning stages of getting we've got a script, but we're in the beginning stages of getting that kind of concept rolling and doing some very, very light, very early pre-production stuff. She's hitting the gym and bringing the cut, so it's in the very early stages of all of that. We don't have anything worked out as far as sets or cast but it was one of those things where I said, what I would love to do is a Terminator short that is stupid low budget, like the original film. And obviously we're not going to have $6 million to work with, but given what we did with Infiltrator, which was about a $9,000 film, I'm sitting there going, can we get something that's even more raw with less of some sort? That's just bare bones. This is essentially Terminator, and it's not that we just took the first movie. There's a lot of Terminator fan films out there that are essentially, high school age kids who are standing in front of the, thing with the sunglasses on and the shotgun prop and the leather jacket, and they're just basically quoting lines and reenacting things from the first 2 movies. We're sitting here going, well, we want to bring something fresh to the table. My biggest contention with Terminator Genesis was, why didn't they go back to 1984 following another set of characters entirely? They could have just as easily gone, sent back another set of time travelers to chase, rescue another female lead of great significance to the Resistance in the future. Why didn't they do that? If they'd have done that, then there would have been no problem with going back to 1984, and we could have seen maybe another story develop that's parallel to Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, and maybe even somebody's in a sequel to that story. There's a news broadcast on, and it's like, and the Cyberdyne building just went up in flames, ladies and gentlemen. And that begins to cross thread some story and things like that. So those are some things that we're kind of messing with, but we're not obviously going back to 1995 and that sort of thing. It'll be something that's closer to today's present day.
Nice, man. So if I'm not mistaken, because I think I saw, like, is she actually, and Morgana can also talk about this, is she actually coming to Texas? Like, is that the actual plan?
That's what it's looking like. I mean, that's the only other way I know to do it would be to put me over there, and I would have to bring whole cast and crew and equipment. So it's looking like she'll be making the trek at some point.
Damn, nice, man. I wish I had that like fund to be like, I'm gonna go from the UK to Texas. Like, is that actually something that is like, can you just do that? Like, Morgana, like, you just have that ability to just up and leave and go somewhere, or do you have to like really plan for it? That's my question to you. Leave your comment in the chat room. It's always been really ever since I saw that, I was like, wow, is she really uprooting and coming to Texas? Awesome if you are. That's really awesome. That's very cool.
So, I should start a GoFundMe. Anybody that wants to chip in and participate and bring this project to life. I would not say no, and I'm sure nobody else that's involved in it would say no.
Hell yeah. No children all time. Nice. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Let me, while we have the chance to do it here, because I did promise him that from here on out, as we get closer to it, definitely going to be promoting Alan Steen. So I've been watching the chat. He's been asking if you need anything designed, I guess, in terms of what Gershom was talking about. And I got in contact with Alan Steen, and his Facebook page, as he said, is Steen Illustration. Check it out. I got in contact with him because I knew that at some point I wanted to have a logo for Terminator 101 that wasn't something that you could readily find on Google, which is what I did. I typed in Terminator wallpapers and up came the one that I have. That's fine, but I really want to stand out. Like, I take this so seriously that I want to have my thing. So I reached out to him because I loved what I saw. Initially, I had seen he did a Terminator 2 collage, and it was incredible stuff. So I reached out to him and I was like, can you please design a logo for me with this? We went back and forth. And I recently got he sent me different colored backgrounds, which is great. He sent me ones that have, like the clear background, so I can put this sort of like a real logo on something so that there's no background to it. It's just the logo. He went all out with this thing. It's my face. And he did really cool things with it. So I cannot highly recommend Alan Steen and Steen Illustration more than I already am, because he's incredible. So that is going to drop. Yeah, the logo is going to drop on the 1 year mark of Terminator 101, which is August 21st.
Excellent.
So very excited to share that. It's just, I saw that thing and I was like, oh my God, that is why I reached out to you. So
that is, wow. That is absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to see that reveal, man.
Yeah. And definitely, if you need something like in terms of design, I don't know if you've seen his stuff, check it out, because he has, it's definitely a style. He has his own style. And as long as you dig that style, you're going to dig what he has to offer. So
excellent. Yeah, Alan, man, thank you for the offer there on that. Let's talk. Let's see what we can figure out. Also, to digress just a moment on the Infiltrator project that Morgana and I are working on, we're calling it ancillary targets, because secondary objectives is already taken in the comic book, but ancillary targets. And totally lost what I was going to say. Yeah, no.
Ancillary target? No, nothing.
Ancillary targets is the subtitle for it. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be set in a present day thing. We're going to be doing some fun things to flip the model of things that we see in the first two films. And oh yeah, here it is. We Carl and I not too long ago purchased a digital T800 model, and he is in the process of rigging that bad boy, and it's looking amazing. So I'm excited for that because that's gonna open some things up that we can do in the film. And he and I have also been talking about the possibility of doing a special edition recutting. Now that we've had some experience, now that some of the dust has settled, of doing a special edition recut of Infiltrator, and might be finagling some extra effects moments in there.
Beautiful. So like kind of like stop motion kind of stuff.
No, unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't have a stop motion Terminator, but like I said, we have the digital model, and it'll be rigged and puppeted and able to do,
But you say digital, like what do you mean digital?
Digital, like a CGI model that can be animated.
Oh, like motion capture kind of thing.
Kind of motion capture, or just frame by frame, keyframed animation. But he's rigging that sucker up to be able to, walk and stalk and shoot and all kinds of fun.
Sick, man. Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, Infiltrator 2.0.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's so, like, that is really exciting to hear. And obviously, knowing Morgana, it'll be really cool to, when that takes fruition, it'll be really cool to see who she, can you talk about who she's playing, or you don't want to talk about that?
You know what? I think I'm going to leave that for a later time.
Okay. Fair enough. I think she could, I'm just going to speculate. Morgana has that look to her where if she was playing a human character, i.e. Sarah Connor-esque, I would buy it. And I would also buy her as an incredibly badass Terminator. Like, she probably more in line with Terminator just because the stuff she posts is so Terminator-esque. Like, she's so zeroed in on, like, she just comes off as like a total badass. So I definitely see her playing more of a Terminator, but a human as well. She definitely, because with those two past live streams we did, she definitely, really opened my eyes to just who she is as a person. So good shit, man. Good shit. I love it.
I'm very excited for it.
Likewise. Definitely going to follow it. I saw Gabe Tricks, who's maybe not first time watcher. I think he's been on here before, but first time commenter tonight. He said, Eddie, I saw your endoskeleton bust. What's the details? If you're talking about just where I got it from, it is a Sideshow Collectibles. I don't know if you can buy it anymore from their website. That's where I bought it. This has been like 3 years ago. I bought this thing. It was $1,000 and saved up a lot of money. It took a lot of time to save up for that thing, but I was dead set on it. And I love it mostly. I love it mostly. It's, in the backdrop of my most recent video. There's just a couple things about it that irk me that doesn't really come off as 100% accurate. And that could just be because of what it was. They didn't have, for that particular budget, they couldn't get it to look exactly. So they had to go this route. It looks great. The teeth are a little irritating to me. They don't come off as the true teeth. You can kind of tell they're bogus looking. But other than that, it's really, and the eyes. The eye size, it's just a little too big. Because, as Terminator fans, that, it's all about the details. And we can look at an endoskeleton and go, okay, yep, all right, I'm in line with that one. And then you look at another one and you go, what in God's name did they think? So this one I'm kind of in between. It's definitely one of the better busts that I've ever seen. but it's definitely not, I don't think, the best one. I think there's definitely better ones you can get. It just sucks that it was $1,000.
No doubt.
It sucks. Like, I remember obviously when you get it and you're like, you open it, you're in love with the thing, you're blind to the like the downfalls. And then slowly over time, you keep looking at it and you go, oh, okay, I don't like that. And then you look around, you go around, oh shit, I don't like that either. What can you do?
Right.
But whatever. It's a great piece to have in a backdrop, and I'm going to keep it for that exact reason. But the eyes do turn on. That's pretty cool. The eyes turn on. It sucks when you turn them off. They don't fade. They just turn off. I know there's a couple endo busts out there that when you turn the eyes off, they kind of fade, which is what a true endo would do.
Right.
But yeah. Gabe Tricks, yeah, man, proud to be here. I'm a massive Terminator fan. I have an endo bust, endo arm, and a few Hot Toys figures. Love seeing others' collectibles. Thanks for answering. You're welcome, man. And we love having you here. We love people that don't really comment a lot, because I know there's some people that just watch. But when you take that time to send a comment to Gershom or I, we also like we love it. It's awesome stuff. So, Cyborgana, night, everyone. She's heading to bed. She definitely deserves it. It's probably very late over there. So yeah, I think we can call it an episode, man. I think we did pretty well in terms of, we woke up this morning and we were like, Randall Frakes. And then in the middle of the day, we were like, Randall Frakes. And then we got closer to it, and me personally, I was like, Randall Frakes? and it didn't turn out to be Randall Frakes, but he will be here at some point. I hope he didn't. I'm not even going to say anything. But I hope he does eventually make an appearance on here.
Definitely.
Yeah. But I think we did pretty well. We loved having everybody in the chat room. It means a lot that you guys stay up if you're overseas to watch us. And the last thing before we go do our signups and everything, when we went live, I noticed, because I knew this was happening this year, it said that Google Hangouts is ending August 1st. So going forward, Gershom and I, we're going to have to, and him and I will do this, offline. We're going to have to figure out what we do now, because for 8 episodes, we kind of had everything figured out. We knew the setup, and it sucks when they pull the rug.
We get it dialed in and they're like, okay, we're turning that off.
Yeah, it sucks that, they're pulling the plug on Google Hangouts. So I don't know what it's going to look like going forward. I don't know what our other options are. We're going to have to look into that in terms of doing this and having a chat and all that stuff. I don't know what else we can do. But I'm sure there's other options, because I know YouTube knows so many people do live streams. So you can't just pull the plug on live streams.
In a panic,
but yeah,
I like to pull the plug.
Yeah. Oh God, no. Terminator 3. Why'd you say that?
No, that was 2.
Is that 2?
That was still 2. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes.
August.
I'm thinking about when him and John and Catherine Brewster are at that camp, and he just does a whole bunch of exposition. That is right. Yes, you are correct. I should slap myself for not knowing that.
That was 2, wasn't it? Shit. Was it?
Yeah, no. Yes. I was like, Gershom, why would you say 3? But of course you wouldn't say 3. In a panic, they pulled the plug. Yes. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for being here. Obviously follow both of us on social media, stay up to date on when we're going to be doing our next episode, hopefully Randall Frakes 8.5. But yeah, you got to follow us to know, because that's the only other way we can keep up to date with you guys. So until we talk to you guys next time, I'm going to let Gershom do his, I like this sign off, so don't change it.
Well, first of all, everybody, thank you so much for checking us out, for watching. Just like Eddie said, like, subscribe, follow, share, and make your fate.
Exactly. And along with that, keep on terminating.